Go for it.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So hello everybody. Thanks for having me here today. My
Hi.
name's Mark Swiderski. I'm a audio engineer at a company called Shure that makes a lot of microphones, headphones, all that sort of stuff. And I'm be talking to you about math and how I use it as an audio engineer, electrical engineer. Um, yeah, but you want to go to the next slide, Justin?
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit about me. My official title is an audio electronics design engineer. I'm 35 years old. I went to the University of Michigan. That's where I studied electrical engineering and sound engineering. And I currently live in Chicago, actually just outside of Chicago, kind of near Wisconsin, actually. But outside of work and doing engineering, I'm also a musician, sound engineer, producer. I play guitar, drums, piano, sing. And as you just heard, that was some songs that Mr. Field and I worked on a long time ago. And I think the next slide even has a picture. I don't know if you knew that Mr. Field was such a rock star, but he definitely is.
Whoa there.
Oh, he uses any chance in class to break out the piano and guitar and sing.
That makes sense. I believe that. Yeah, so, what do I do at work on a day-to-day basis? So right now, my main job is I work on our conferencing equipment. So stuff that companies would use in their conference rooms, stuff that people would use at home, kind of like we're using now. You need microphones and speakers and all that to enable these video calls. And that's the kind of products that I work on. I make the circuit boards that go inside the products. So if you ever have taken anything apart and you see the green circuit boards with all those parts, like that's the stuff that I design and make for sure. We do a lot of critical listening. Obviously, as an audio company, you have to do a lot of listening, make sure everything sounds good. Being an engineer is all about problem solving. So every single day, there's new problems that come up, and you got to be able to solve them fast. And that's something that I think math teaches you. Aside from the specific kind of math parts of the problem, you're always solving problems, and that's a huge part of my job. In communication too, that's always a very big thing. I work with a lot of different people, salespeople, other engineers, managers and all that, and communication is a big thing. But one of the main things we're here to talk about today is math, right? Like every day I do math, and there's math in everything for my job. So, and life. I want to say this too. Math is extremely important for everything in life. Any sort of job you get, there's going to be some math involved. So yeah, actually, I was wondering, like, any of you on the call, do you have like certain careers in mind or jobs that you are thinking of? And maybe we can real quick just talk about how math is involved in those.
Kelsey raised her hand.
Kelsey?
I'm thinking about having my own fashion designing company.
That's great. Yeah. And so actually my sister-in-law does a lot of like fashion design stuff, and she had to take a lot of math in college because, first of all, fashion design, a lot of shapes, a lot of geometry. You got to know proportions, measure the right amount of fabric and do all that. And then, but also if you're going to have like your own company, you got to know about the business side of things, keeping track of all the millions and millions of dollars you'll make with all your cool fashion designs.
Any other Anyone? I know
Aeronautical.
Miles knows he wants to be a meteorologist.
Oh man, that's math. Everything about that is math, right? Trying to track the weather and predict what's going to happen. There's a lot of probability. Yeah, that's a huge amount of math.
Aeronautical or astronomical engineering.
That's too easy.
Yeah, that's math. I mean, it's kind of the same along lines of like meteorology, just weather and space and stars and all that. You need math. That's the point. Math is extremely important. You want to go to the next slide? So when do I use math in my job? It's everywhere. So any sort of circuit that we design, this is a very simple circuit shown here. There's equations that you have to solve to figure out how to make this work. You can go to the next slide. When you're talking about microphones, there's a lot of different types of microphones, and they don't all pick up sound in the same way. So some microphones will pick up sound equally in every direction. Some microphones will pick up sound better for things that are directly in front of them, and it'll reject sound coming from behind it. And there's a lot of different flavors in between. That's kind of what's shown here. This is all math. Polar coordinates and all these different things that if you haven't learned already, you will. It's heavily based on math. You have to know angles and directions and velocity and all that sort of stuff. This is a mixing board. I'm sure a lot of you have seen these if you've ever been to a concert or any sort of show or anything. I mean, this whole box is math. It's audio being added together and being manipulated. And that all takes math to do that. Then there's, if you want to keep clicking through, there's a lot of examples here. Yeah, this is a conferencing microphone that Shure makes. It's something that sits in the ceiling and has these like microphone beams that you can place around the room. The thing in the ceiling has literally over 100 microphones, small microphones in it. And you have to do a ton of math to figure out how to combine all those microphones together to make these beams that you can point around the room. So any microphone, a speaker, this box here is like a signal processing box, digital signal processing, all math, heavy math. Here's some plots, probably from stuff I've done at work. It all revolves around math. Like math is the foundation of everything. So I wanted to walk through real quick a real life example of something I might design at work and how math might be involved. So when you're designing a microphone, this picture kind of shows a very basic, very basically how a microphone works. You have sound waves that travel through the air that hits a microphone, and the microphone kind of moves around in the same way that the airwaves are moving. And that's able to create this electrical signal. And once you have that, you have to do a lot of stuff to that signal to make it sound good, like make it louder. And that's what an amplifier would do. So first we're going to talk about the first side of it. So we have sound moving through the air, and we want to pick that up. So imagine you have this table with all these chairs around it, and so this is something that I have definitely seen at my job. Somebody might come to me and say, "We have a conference room that has a table like this. It has 9 chairs around it. And we want a microphone that we can put on the table that'll pick up the people sitting at the table." So the first thing I would do is think about, okay, you know, we can put a microphone on the table. How far away are the people from the microphone? Because that's going to really matter in terms of how to design the microphone. You know, the further away you are from a microphone, it's going to sound, you know, you're not going to be able to hear the person as good. So, and there's different ways you can design things so that if people are further away, you can hear them better. So the first thing I would think of is, okay, how far away is a person from the table? And if you go to the next one, you know, not only is the person that distance away from the table, their mouth is a certain distance from the table. So you need to know that. And from that, you then will know how far is their mouth from the microphone. And so this is a triangle, right? This is something that I have literally seen at my job. And so if you go to the next thing, so if you know that, okay, the microphone to the chair is 4 feet away, from the table to the person's mouth is 3 feet, how far away is the actual microphone from the person's mouth? Does anybody have a guess?
Come on, geometry kids. Kelsey?
12 feet?
Not 12 feet.
Oh,
Come on, Miles.
hold on. Wait. Trying to find my calculator and I can't.
Don't need a calculator.
Yes.
Everyone say it.
Uh,
Repeat after me. Unmute yourself and repeat after me. A squared
A
squared
plus B squared
plus B
plus B squared
equals C squared.
equals C
equals C
squared.
squared.
what I just said.
What's 3 times 3?
9.
What's 4 times 4?
16.
What's 9 plus 16?
Wait, I'm
The final answer is
25. What's the square root of 25?
5.
Hey.
Yep.
And what theorem
Exactly.
is that?
So that's
Sorry. What theorem is that?
The Pythagorean theorem.
Pythagorean theorem. No.
Okay, now mute yourself again.
That's over to go with. Ugh.
Okay. Sorry, Mark.
Oh, that's all right. But yeah, that's the answer. 5 feet, and that's something that I have had to do. I mean, in that case, maybe it's not that complex of a math problem, and there's certainly more complex things that we have to figure out. But that kind of stuff comes up all the time. Yeah. So the next part is like we were talking about with microphones being able to pick up sound differently in different directions. So now we know the person's mouth is about 5 feet away from the microphone. We could pick a microphone that looks like this, where it picks up sound better in the front and it'll reject sound from behind it. So that's good for the person sitting to that chair on the right, but the person sitting in the chair on the left is not going to be heard very well. So then you have to think, okay, well, maybe I can put another microphone. Maybe this little box can have 2 microphones in it, and I'll point one in one direction and one in the other direction. But then the people on the top and bottom aren't going to be able to be heard. So you can also do a microphone that picks up sound equally in all directions. And in this case, that might be a better choice for making this microphone. And again, that's all math. You know, what are they sitting at 0 degrees? Are they sitting at 90 degrees, 180, 270? Who do I have to pick up in that range of the circle? So once you kind of figure that stuff out, then you have to actually make the circuitry and get the microphone to work. And there's a lot of math involved in that as well. So if you go to the next slide, this is an example of a circuit that I might use in a microphone. And it's okay if you don't really understand what you're looking at here, but it's an amplifier. So it's something that will make a sound louder. So on the left side, it says V in, that's the input. And on the right side, you have the output. As it goes through this circuit, it's going to get louder. And how much louder is it going to get? You have to know that, and you have to design that, because you don't want to make it too loud and you don't want it to be too quiet. So there's an equation that you can figure out for this circuit, and it's shown here. The amount that the signal will be increased is equal to 1 plus the resistor R1 divided by resistor R2. So if I knew that I wanted to have a certain amount of amplification, I could pick, that'll determine what resistor values I picked. So if I picked R1 is 3,000 ohms and R2 is 1,000 ohms, how much gain is that going to be? What's that AV?
Does anyone know?
So what's 3,000 divided by 1,000?
Three.
Who said that?
Me, Alex.
Alex?
Alex C.
Alex C gets the point. Okay.
Nice. All
Thank
right.
you.
So yeah, you got 3,000 divided by 1,000 is 3. Then you got, what's 1 plus 3?
4.
4. So this amplifier is going to take the signal coming in. It's going to multiply it by 4. It's going to be 4 times in intensity, and that's going to be the output. If I wanted to make it 2 times or 5 times or 3.789 times as loud, I would be able to pick different resistor values to make that happen. And so that's an example of how I would use math in designing a circuit to make a microphone. So yeah, before we get to this, before I emphasize that again, I actually wanted to show, if you don't mind, Mr. Field, aside from doing engineering, I do like music production and making music, and I thought maybe I could share my screen and show how like math is used in that as well.
Well, yeah.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
All right. Let me share this over here.
What kind of a microphone are you using?
I have it's like a sound bar type microphone. It's over here, and it's got speakers built in, and it kind of looks like a sound bar that you'd see on like a TV.
Oh, okay.
Can you see my screen?
We can.
Cool. So this is a song that I made, and there's a lot of math involved in here. So what you're looking at here is these are sound files that were recorded at different times. So like this red is me singing. All this green are different drums. So you have like a bass drum and a snare drum and all those different types of things. Yellow are a lot of electronic drums. And then there's some keyboards and synthesizers and guitars that are purple. And you record all these things separately, and then they have to all get added together. And that's how you make a song, you know? So the songs you hear on the radio, you hear all those different instruments, they're all kind of recorded individually like this, and then they're added together. And this software that I'm using does all that math to add them all together. But there's more than that, and this is kind of the real fun part. A lot of times you don't want to just add it all together. sometimes like you might want to take a guitar and make it distorted. And so you can use these audio processing things that will take your guitar that you recorded, that audio signal, and it does a bunch of math on the signal to make it distorted, maybe to simulate like an actual guitar amp or some guitar effect that somebody made in the past, or just make something new. Or maybe you have when you were singing, maybe there was like your refrigerator was running in the background and there's a lot of noise. Well, you can use some audio processing things to get rid of that noise and make it so you can just hear your voice. And all this, you have to understand math to be able to do it. So I need to know that my refrigerator is making this really low, like bass rumbly sound. I need to know, okay, that's a low frequency thing. I would fix that by getting rid of those frequencies, and that's all math. And if I...
Can you play it? Are you leaving it?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if the audio will come through.
If you press the more on your share screen, on your Zoom toolbar, if you press more, you'll
Oh, I see.
share computer sound.
Gotcha. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a song that I was working on, and it takes a lot of math to kind of analyze things. So like, for example, when I'm almost done with the song and I want to make it sound like a real professional recording, I use this tool, which will show me, you know, how much treble does my song have? How much bass does my song have? What about in the middle? Does it match like a typical recording that you might hear on the radio or on Spotify? And I can manipulate the song to kind of fit into these into this shape so that it sounds good. Or I can make it really loud, or I can make it sound like really far left and right. So yeah, that's an example of when you're making a song, how much math there is involved in it.
That's like scary. You know, it's just intimidating.
It is, but it's really not that difficult if you spend time learning it and are really interested in it. And the other thing too is, especially with something like this, it's a lot of the same thing over and over, right? Like this track and this, they're all doing pretty much the same thing. Once you know how to do one of these, you can do all of them. And yeah, it can be difficult, but it's worth it. You know, it's worth spending the time to learn about math and have these skills, because then I can make a cool song, and that's fun. And you can make a career out of that, or you can be, a fashion designer or a meteorologist or an audio engineer, electrical engineer. But you need to know math to do all those things. So it's super important. So that was all I had prepared to talk about, but do you guys have questions? I got a lot of time to answer all the questions you might have.
So, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, what made you want to be in the music business?
Yeah, so I started playing guitar when I was in 4th grade, And it was just something that, like, my mom had a guitar and we had a piano, so it was something I was kind of just interested in. And then I really, I really enjoyed doing it. So I learned how to play drums. I learned how to play the piano. I studied it in school, and it's just something I've always enjoyed, and something I've always wanted to learn and continue learning about. So it's just been doing it for a long time.
Nick,
Two questions. So
Yeah.
with the first example, you would not only be calculating how far vertically the person speaking is from the microphone, but also how tall they are. So like where their voice is coming from horizontally. No, switch those two.
Yeah, exactly. So if I'm sitting at a table and the microphone is sitting on a table, I need to know how far the mouth is to the microphone. And so the easy way to do that is to just figure out, like, okay, how far is the microphone to the edge of the table where the person's going to be sitting?
Mm-hmm.
And then, on average, everybody's a different height, so it's going to be a little different depending on the person, but on average, from the table to a person's mouth is probably not going to change a whole lot. So you can kind of you'd have to maybe do some research and figure out, like, how long is it from a person's stomach to their mouth? And there's data you can find that tells you that. And once you know that and how far away you are from the microphone, then you'll know the distance from the mouth to the microphone, because that's what you're really worried about. That's where the sound is coming from.
Yeah. And this is more of a question/challenge for Mr. Field. You had asked, like, what were our career aspirations, and you've explained how musicians use math. I'm also interested in the arts as a career, though more of as an actor or visual artist, so graphic designer, stuff like that. How would I use math in that?
That's a great question. Was that a question for Mr. Field, or is that a question for me?
Either of you.
oh, Mark, go for it. You're
All
the
right.
expert tonight.
Mr. Field is figuring out.
So let's start with graphic design. That's all math. The programs you use to do those designs are built all around math and vectors, and just like the fact that you could maybe draw something and zoom into it, and it'll kind of redraw it as you're zooming in so you don't lose any quality. Like, that's all done by math. That's why if you have like a document that has text and you zoom in, the text doesn't get blurry. It keeps recalculating how to draw the text so that it never gets blurry. That's all math. And that's like the software side of it. For you using the software, you'd probably want to understand, again, angles and shapes and all that. And then if you were going to be making something for a billboard or a greeting card or whatever it is, you need to know the size that you're creating it for. So you need to know, what's the area that I'm going to be using? How many pixels horizontally and vertically can I use to make something? So that's all math.
That's what you just spoke of. That's a pretty good example of a real-life coordinate plane.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
So, since you took the graphic designer, Mr. Field,
Oh,
I want you to
man.
explain as an actor.
An actor? Okay, well, my wife is actually a professional actor. She doesn't do it right now because, when you're married with small kids, acting is a very time-intensive career, so can't really do both. So, but what I've got to see is, and the example that I'm going to give you is set design. So when you are,
It's not acting.
yeah, it is. When you are talking
Sorry.
about blocking
Sorry,
and
you're
moving
performing.
around, huh?
Set design is a lot closer than graphic design.
Oh, okay. So what are my restrictions on the examples I can give? They have to be the actor walking around on the stage.
Here,
Sound.
I got a good example.
No, this is a question for Mr. Field. You can't answer it.
All right, fair enough.
Oh, no. It's
It's a challenge.
my group. Go ahead, Mark.
All right, so
Nope.
as an actor, yeah, so your actual job of, learning a script and performing on stage, there might not be a whole lot of math involved there, but there's a lot of other stuff that comes with being an actor that does involve a lot of math, right? So you're going to have to be, signing contracts with a theater company or a production company, and they're going to say, okay, well, we want to take 80% of all the money that we make, and you only get 20%. You would want to know how much money that is. You need to know how much money you're going to be making, right? And it gets more complicated than that. They might say, oh, well, we're going to take 80%, but then we're going to take 5% of that and give it to somebody else, and then 3% of your share goes to your agent, and 2% goes back to the company, and so you end up with 3% of 8% of 20. You have to know your math to understand that. And so, yeah, keeping track of your income and doing your taxes, it's all math, and it sounds funny. It sounds kind of, it's like, it's not really directly related to acting, but that's a huge part of what you would have to do as an actor. Understand your contracts, keep track of your income. That's a critical part.
I'm just saying, 17% of all production is not a good deal.
There you go. You already know enough math to know that that's a bad deal. That's great.
They're cheating me.
Kelsey, you have a question?
All those recordings that you showed us, if they were all deleted, is that the thing that you can like immediately bring back, or is it just like you have to start all over again?
No, luckily, if something was deleted, I can just hit edit undo and it'll come back.
Yeah.
What if the app was deleted?
If the app was like the software was deleted,
Yeah.
I have everything saved in multiple spots, so I would be able to buy the app again and install it again, and it would come back.
Good for you, Mark. Ronan, you have a question?
Yes. What was Mr. Field like when he was younger?
Exactly as
I
he's
can
like
answer
now.
No,
I was-
no. Question for Mark.
I was that cool kid in the school, the popular,
Yeah. The most popular, the coolest. All the girls loved him.
Somehow
I wasn't bald.
That
That's
doesn't prove
true.
You're
anything.
still not bald, Mr.
He had like big poofy afro type thing at one point.
Yeah. It's true.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ronan, for that insightful question.
What did he play in the band?
Justin played guitar and sang. He was the lead. He was the front man.
The band was called Justin Field and the No Job Blues Band. Later in college, Justin Field and the Mid-Michigan Replacements.
That's a long name.
And then I went solo.
Uh-huh.
Performing in math classrooms.
Mhm.
You do songs about, integers and.
Mark, do you want to see my song about integers?
No,
Yeah,
don't
well-
do the quadratic formula one. That one's actually good. Even the latest one too.
What were you going to say, Mark?
What didn't you make a song? Was it like the denominators or something?
Oh, yeah. Wait, the denominator. I made a song called Denominator Killers. And that was about solving rational equations and multiplying both sides to get rid of the denominator. I don't know if that's what you're thinking of. Oh, okay. With that, they wouldn't know that one. But they would know, oh, and there's Noah singing Mary Had a Little Lamb. All right, now, here is,
Yes.
where is the integer?
Distance and midpoint formula song. Come on, do it, do it, do it, do it.
Here they
Integers. They're both negative. Add them together. And the rest is negative. That's just how it is. Integers. If one is positive. Subtract those numbers. And subtract those numbers. Let's take the biggest one side. That's always how it is. Don't forget two negatives when they turn to plus sign. In a row. Uninterrupted. When you multiply.
I have a question for Mark. I'm sorry.
It's a great song. I loved it.
The song is good.
Mark, so Mark has time right now. So what you guys need to know is his son or daughter is months away from being born, while I have small children. So he still has a few months left to make all that complicated recording. But me, I rely on whatever my phone can do, right? So can you talk to us about, and they've come a long way. So how do the iPhone and the Samsung companies, how do they use math to make just a simple camera recording thing work so well? Because it used to be terrible. Is it the microphone or the software?
Yeah, they're able to make your phone has microphones built in, speakers built in. Most of them have multiple microphones and speakers to be able to eliminate noise around you. If you're on a phone call and you're in a car with the windows down, the person on the other end can still hear you good. That's because there's a lot of different microphones and stuff in here that are able to cancel all that noise out. And as technology gets better, things get smaller and things become better quality, right? So all the cameras and microphones built into the phones are really high quality things. On top of that, the circuit boards that are in here, there's a lot of parts in there that do a lot of math on the sound and the images coming in to make them better, right? Like just the microphone itself picking up the sound in your room, it wouldn't sound that great. But like I said, they used a lot of microphones. They combine different signals together and do a lot of math, and they're able to get rid of noise and other things and just pick up your voice or whatever it is. Same with the camera. The camera is capturing light in the room, and just that, what the camera captures doesn't look that great, but then they do a lot of math on it to make it look really nice. Like on the iPhone, if you've ever seen, that'll say like an HDR image, the way they make those, the way they do that, and it gives you a better picture, is they take a bunch of pictures and they kind of average them together and do a lot of math on all those different pictures to give you one picture that looks better overall. So this is filled with math. This is a math box.
Did you guys ever think your phone was a math box?
I knew it was.
Yeah, that's
It's
kind of how computers work.
technology.
Someone is calling me on my math box. Hello?
Don't call it that,
I mean, is it,
please.
and then I had another question, but as you kept talking, I forgot about it. Does anyone else have another question before I remember mine? Once Mark leaves, you can't ask me the same questions you can ask him. He's much smarter than me. Nick, I'm not. So Nick likes to ask that question from the Monty Python movie about the European swallow's velocity. So we're not going to call on her or them. All right. So anyone else? How about Keenan or Aiden? Do you guys have any questions?
Or Nick.
Okay, Nick, go ahead.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
I leave the meeting now. Fine.
Let's see your speed velocity of an unladen European swallow.
I don't know.
All right.
24 miles an hour.
Thanks, Nick. All right. Well,
Fascinating.
Well, if there are no other questions, then sadly we're all done for now.
Okay. Bye.
Can you guys all unmute yourself and say thank you, Mark?
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
No problem. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Field.
All right.
Mr.
Don't forget to
Field.
look Mark up on Spotify, Apple Music, and subscribe to his YouTube channel.
I'm not
I
subscribing.
tried and it didn't work.
Mr. Field, you should play Minecraft on yours.
Huh? Okay.